Sage allows you to set up a default tax code for each of your customer and supplier accounts so that you don't have to remember each time you post a transaction which VAT code applies to the individual customer or supplier. And in this video we'll look at changing those customer and supplier VAT defaults. Now that we're going to be using code T10 for most customers and suppliers from the 1st of December 2008, we need to reset the defaults. In Sage Accounts Plus and Professional, we can use the batch change function to make resetting the defaults quick and easy. However, if you're using Instant or Accounts, Sage Accounts, you will need to select and change each one individually. Now, to use the batch change feature for your customers to start with, make sure first that you're showing the customer list on your screen. So go to Modules, Customers, and I've actually got mine set to show the customer list. But if you haven't got the customer list, you can go to Change View and select it from there. But we've got the customer list here. Now, most of your customers, if you're VAT registered, most of your customers will work on a T1 tax code, but some of them, and certainly several of your suppliers, may have default tax codes other than T1, and we don't want to change those. So first of all, we can do a search for all those with a T1 code and select them for the batch change. So looking at customers here, if we go to Search and we go to the Join column and select Where, and the field we want is actually default tax code. If we type in a D and then scroll down from there, we'll find it quite quickly. There you are, default tax code. And we want to find the ones where the default tax code is equal to T1. And if we then say Apply and Close, it's probably got all the it's probably got all the original customers there, but in actual fact it's found 30 that have got a T1 tax code, because it tells us up here 30 of 32 records matched. So we've found all the ones with a T1 tax code. So now we want to change that tax code to T10. Now if we just go down to the bottom here and press Swap, Sage will actually highlight all of the customers on the list. Then we go to Batch Change, and we want to go to the Defaults tab. And here we've got the default tax code. So pull down the little drop down list and scroll down to T10. Select that. And that's the only thing we want to change on all these records that we've selected. So we'll say Save to that. If we suddenly changed our mind and realised we'd got it wrong, we could press Discard or Close, but we're going to say Save. And Sage just warns us again before we go any further, are we sure we want to save the changes? So we'll say Yes. And then if we leave that list highlighted and go into Record, it'll take us into the first one and go to Defaults. Now you'll see that our default tax code is now changed from T1 to T10. And if we go to the next one on the list by pressing the Next button, it takes us to the next one, and that's T10 as well. Press Next again, Bob's Building Supplies, T10, and so on. So close that, and then by pressing Swap we deselect the list again. And then just remember, before you leave this screen, to go back and make sure that all your customers are listed, because we're actually only seeing 30 of them at the moment and we want to be able to see all 32. So if we click on this little magnifying glass, it'll just toggle back to showing all records, and there they are on screen. And for the suppliers, it's exactly the same procedure. Go to Modules, Suppliers, and then just go through the search as before. Search where default tax code is equal to T1. Apply. Close. Swap. And then batch change. Defaults tab. And the default tax code we want to select now is T10. Save. Sage warns us and we say yes. And then if we go into record and go to the defaults tab, we'll see that that's changed to T10, and the next record and the next, and so on. So close that. Press swap to deselect the list. Go up to here and make sure that we toggle back to all records. And that's how you change the default on your suppliers. Now, if you don't have the batch change because you're not on Accounts Plus or Professional, you'll actually have to go through each individual record and change them one by one. So you just highlight the record, press record, go into defaults, and then obviously we've changed this already, but you would just select the default tax code, select T10, save, and so on, and then you'd select the next one. Or what you could obviously do is swap them, put them back into order first, Jules. You could select to swap them all and then just go into the record, do one and save that and go on to the next, and so on. Just deselect that. And now we've changed the defaults on all our suppliers and customers where we wanted to change it from T1 to T10. And then what will happen, say on suppliers, when you go to post a batch invoice, let's say we'll select Anderson Paper Products because that's one of the ones we changed. Okay. And you'll now see in the tax code column it's changed from the old T1 to T10 because that's now the default. But obviously you can still edit that if you want to process a November or earlier invoice at the old rate of T1. We'll close that, we won't save that. Close the suppliers and back to the customers, and I think A1 was one of the ones we changed, so have a look at a batch invoice entry for them, and there you are, the tax code has changed from T1 to T10. But again, if you need to change that, you can. So close that, we won't save those changes. Close the customers. Now just one other little proviso about handling the VAT change this way. If you go to the bank and you go to just an ordinary bank payment, the default tax code will still be T1. So just bear that in mind when you're entering bank payments and also bank receipts. You'll need to change T1 to T10 if relevant. Okay, want to save that. Close the bank. So you're now set up to handle the Chancellor's VAT rate reduction for the next 13 months. That is, until the next budget and the next change. Good luck.